Hello friends and welcome to another edition of the Pro Tour Gauntlet. I'm Kenji Egashira, and here we have Chris Fennell's Black-White Zombies deck that he piloted to a top 8 spot at Pro Tour Amonkhet. The story of the Pro Tour was Eitherworks Marvel versus Zombies, and indeed we saw those matches played out multiple times, culminating in Yuya Watanabe versus Jerry Thompson in the final. Unlike the pure mono-black Zombies strategy, the Black-White list has access to a few powerful main deck and sideboard cards granted by White. Let's see how this deck plays out. And here we are for our match with Black-White Zombies piloted by Chris Fennell. Well, piloted by me, but played by Chris Fennell at the Pro Tour. Won the die roll. We're going to play first here. And I think our hand is not very good. We're really looking for one of our 1-drops. Lord of the Accursed, not really a 1-drop. We're looking for Crypt Breaker or Dread Wanderer, so I think we're going to ship this hand and go down to 6. And I think we'll be going down to 5, because a Plains does not let me cast any of these zombies. Even with the Scry, it's a little bit risky since we're on the play, so we'll go to 5. And yeah, this hand looks fine as a 5-drop, or rather as a 5. We have a Dread Wanderer turn 1 and a Binding Mummy turn 2. Can already kill anything with Dark Salvation, presumably, so go ahead and give this a shot. Lord of the Accursed is certainly a good one, but I'm not sure if we want to keep it or not. I think it's powerful enough to keep on top since we only need one more land, but Crypt Breaker would be, I think, the ideal. But we'll keep this Lord on top, see what happens. Go ahead and lead out here with the Dread Wanderer. Lovely little 2-1, puts in a lot of work, and especially on a mulligan to 5, I might be able to bring it back quite a few times for some nice value. Opponent leading on a Wandering Fumarole. A few decks have that as one of their lands, so can't get too much information just quite yet from that. Spire Bluff Canal. Okay, this could be the blue-red control list that didn't do too well at the Pro Tour, but has been popping up here and again. Go ahead and go to combat, see if we can get in for 4 points here. And we did draw a nice one, Crypt Breaker, one of the more important cards. I'm opting to not draw cards here with the Crypt Breaker, which I could have done, provided it resolved. Instead, getting in for 4 extra points of damage. We'll see if this is too greedy or not. Alright, anticipate end of turn from the opponent. It's a little bit weird, because this deck likes to switch off from control to aggro, right? You can play the more long game, drawing cards and setting up more powerful positions, but you can also play the super aggro game, and I think in this circumstance it might be correct to actually go for the extra draw cards, but I'm already on a mulligan to 5, and you know the opponent's bound to have some amount of removal encounters. What I could do here is just pass the turn, use Crypt Breaker end of turn, and then draw a card. But I think instead I might just try to play out the Crypt Breaker, see if this resolves. And if it does, then maybe I use my Crypt Breaker that I just played plus 2 other of my creatures to draw an extra card and get in for 2 points of damage. I think that seems fine. Alright, and let's go ahead and draw a card here. I want to do this main phase in case I draw a land. I have a few tapped lands in the deck as well. Shambling Vents, the main contender. Alright, opponent cycles Censor at end of turn, and we'll see. If they hit like a Harness Lightning or something, I might just be jamming the Lord of the Accursed next turn and trying to set up lethal. Okay, Magma Spray end of turn takes care of one of my Crypt Breakers, so that might not be so much an appealing option. Yep, let's jam this Lord and see if we can hit him for quite a few points of damage now. This might just get countered though, of course. In fact, it does get disallowed. And you know what? I'm going to go ahead and just attack in for 5. Put the opponent to 7. They're dead next turn if they don't have anything, and this Lord of the Accursed number 2 resolves. I want to do this before they can get to 6 mana and potentially Torrential Gear Hulk me. Okay, I still don't get to play around a second censor because the Shambling Vent enters tapped, but let's see if this Lord of the Accursed #2 resolves. And that's also going to meet a disallow, but that's okay, because I'm still going to attack the opponent down to 2 here, and now I have a lethal threat in the form of Shambling Vent in addition to my other 2 power creatures, so this might just work, and yep, the opponent scoops it up. So the nice thing about the Zombies deck is that it actually has quite a bit of game versus these control decks. Now, Torrential Gearhulk is going to be the presumed win con for the opponent, and in fact, I can probably just take out these Dark Salvations as they're not going to have many hits. I think in the blue-red list, you get to hit their Wandering Fumarals if they activate it on defense, or you get to hit their Torrential Gearhulks, which you need a large mass of zombies to kill it, and again, Torrential Gearhulk does have flash, so I think taking out the Dark Salvations is a good bet. Scrap Heap Scrounger makes its way in here. Similarly, I think I want to take out the Fatal Pushes for the same reason that I took out the Dark Salvations. Now, notably, the Fatal Pushes do hit Wandering Fumaral, and that is something to think about, but I think I go ahead and cut it in favor of, like, Transgress the Mind. And then I also want to bring in Gideons as just another great card versus a more control-y list. I do need to make 4 more cuts here, though, and I'm not quite sure how Chris Fennell might have done it. I think probably the Anguished Unmakings are an okay card to take out, as, again, there aren't too many hits for them besides the Torrential Gearhulks. I am leaving myself cold now, though, to the 5/6 flash, as I don't have any removal save for the pseudo-binding mummy effect. Speaking of which, I think we can probably just cut the binding mummy and go more like this. We bring in 4 Transgresses, 4 Scrap Heap Scroungers, and 4 Gideon Ally of Zendikar in exchange for 4 Dark Salvation, 4 Fatal Push, 2 Anguished Unmaking, and 2 Binding Mummy. So let's ship this and see if we can take down the blue-red control deck. Game 2, Black-White Zombies versus Blue-Red Control. We are on the draw, and similarly to one of our previous hands, we're going to have to ship this one as I only have a Lone Plains and, well, nothing to cast. Opponent also mulliganed to 6, though. Ooh. Oh, I guess this is not as bad. On first glance, I thought this Transgress the Mind was another land, but I think we can actually keep this. We get to go turn 1 Shambling Vent, turn 2 Concealed Courtyard, and a Transgressor Scrap Heap Scrounger. And the Shambling Vents are actually going to do pretty good work versus this control opponent, so I'm going to go ahead and keep this one. See what we can do here. I probably lead on Scrap Heap Scrounger, but we will see. Also depends on what we draw, as if I see like a Crypt Breaker or a Dread Wanderer on top, yes, we will certainly keep that and instead just go turn 1 Concealed Courtyard plus the Crypt Breaker. Seems nice. I don't think we're going to be discarding any cards to Crypt Breaker just yet, but maybe I'm supposed to be. Like, I can just play the Concealed Courtyard here and discard a Shambling Vent and make a zombie. I think that's probably a good line, as this plays around like a censor from the opponent, and while sure they can just anticipate here end of turn if they have it, Crypt Breaker is just a good threat on its own and plays around any silly counter spells. Alright, Magma Spray from the opponent. In response, I'm going to go ahead and just discard a Shambling Vent and get a 2/2. Now remember, this exiles my Crypt Breaker, which means Scrap Heap Scrounger is not going to have the delicious food that it wants to eat later on, but that's okay. Land pass from the opponent. Let's go to combat. See if our lovely little zombie gets to get in here. And how best to play around a counter. Scrap Heap Scrounger, Transgress the Mind, or even Dread Wanderer is fine. I think I like playing out the Dread Wanderer just to play around Censor, as we might as well. And just getting a 1-mana threat on the board is perfectly fine. The opponent's already used one of their Magma Spray. So if they don't have another to kill my Dread Wanderer, then we don't have to worry about that getting exiled. Alright, another land pass from the control deck. And yeah, let's just go to combat. I'm going to lead here with Scrap Heap Scrounger and then Transgress Their Mind, I think. But maybe it's better to go the other way around. Let's go with the Scrap Heap. I'd rather get this countered and then transgress like a Torrential Gearhulk. But if that just resolves... Do I cast out the Transgress into a Censor? I think I do, because this is also their turn that they want to cast Glimmer of Genius. So it makes it really awkward on their mana. Perfect. Caught him in the act. All right, so turn 4, I think, is one of the important pivotal turns that you want to cast things like Transgress versus the blue control decks, as that is their turn that they want to counter things. But that is also the turn that they want to hold up Glimmer. So yeah, we're going to get to hit a Torrential Gearhulk here. Opponent having Glimmer, Negate, Thing in the Ice, and a Spire Bluff Canal in their hand. All right, so let's keep note of those over here. And looks like we're in great shape. Opponent doesn't even have a Wandering Fumarole to block very favorably. Okay, there's their Thing in the Ice. And another Canal. So we are in great shape here. In fact, I get to dram out all of my creatures now. What you want to do with the Diregraph Colossus frequently is actually cast it out and then immediately follow it up with another zombie, as is the case here. That way, it's not susceptible to removal if it resolves, and you get an extra zombie token. Opponent is quite a bit away from actually transforming their Thing in the Ice. In fact, I have them dead next turn. If they don't find something. So we're hoping to evade like a Radiant Flames, Sweltering Suns type effect. Glimmer of Genius from the opponent. All right, that is a good sign for us. And unless they find a Magma Spray, even if they do find a Magma Spray, they're going to be in quite bad shape. Okay, so black-white zombies there, taking down the match versus blue-red control in pretty spectacular fashion. We mulliganed to 5 game 1. And got there through aggro, in fact, not even using our Crypt Breaker to draw cards. And then game 2 here, we kind of just swarmed them, and they didn't find too many removal spells, just a single Magma Spray, and we had the Transgress the Mind to take away their Torrential Gearhulk. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that look at black-white zombies. I think it's one of the more powerful decks in the format, and with access to things like Anguished Unmaking and Gideon from the sideboard, you have a good game versus just most of the decks.